Welcome and thank you, Kathy, for giving us your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So, Kathy, you had a NDE. Can you give us an overview of what happened and how it changed your life?
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, actually. What happened? Okay, I had been taking care of my best friend. He had leukemia. I was there for about 9 months, helping him get in and out of the hospital. He passed away. I was a wreck. I was tired. I was brokenhearted. It was awful. I caught a flu that was going around and got really, really sick. A new friend of mine got me to the hospital in time. Actually, it was a doc in the box, and they took me by ambulance. And then I woke up a couple days later and my family was there and I had no idea what was going on. And they said I had ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is also called lung failure. That's pretty much what kills people with COVID. And back then, 25 years ago, they didn't know how to treat it. They still don't do real well with it, but then it was like a super new thing. So they said they'd have to put me into a drug-induced coma so they could experiment. Um, I had really no choice, since they said I had about, it was a very low chance of even making it at that point. And I was only 53 years old. I said goodbye to the family. The last thing the doctor told me is you won't remember anything that happens. We're pretty much putting your brain offline and just go to sleep, deep sleep. And actually, I don't know about time because on the other side, there's no time. But I did wake up and it was completely dark. I was in a place I later knew to be called the void, which is it's neither good or bad. It's just dark and it's quiet. And it's just you don't have a sense of having a body, but you don't have a sense you're dead either. Anyway, that went on for a while and then eventually it started changing. And as it did, I started feeling like I wasn't in Kansas anymore, and it turned into a series of segments that were punctuated with times of darkness and then a bright light coming up and then a brand new place I'd find myself in. And I never thought of myself as dead. I mean, it was my soul, and your soul is who you are. Our bodies are kind of like a car. We just get in and drive around and get back out when we die. But I just kept running into like demon characters, and they would tell me I had a job, and if I wanted to get out, I had to do this job. And they were difficult and creepy and disgusting. And I kept saying, no, no, I'm not going to do that. I'd try it, and I'd say, I just can't do this. And they just say, wow, it's just going to get worse. And it did. And all kinds of stuff happened. And eventually, which seems like years, because, like I say, there's no time there, there's no reference. It was just now. It's just always now. And I did get out unexpectedly, but I was still being a brat and found myself just completely filled and blowing up with this intense love and bliss and joy, the thing people always bring back. There's no real words for it because there's nothing like it here. We get little small doses of maybe joy or bliss, but it's just small. And there it's just immense and constant and just fabulous. And I, I was just I just wanted to stay. And then all of a sudden, it's sort of the scene kind of solidified from this glorious light. And I could see my friend who had died the month before. And he died of leukemia, and he didn't look so good when he passed on. But now he looked great. He looked younger. He looked healthy. He looked happy. And I thought, wow, he doesn't know he's dead, and he started laughing. And it dawned on me that I didn't say that out loud, and that I must be dead too. And it was like, wow, this is just terrific. I was so happy, happy, happy. And I says, why are we just standing here? Come on, show me around. And he got a little closer and said, "Now, Mary Kay, you've got too much left to do." And I thought, oh, that sounds like a goodbye to me. And it was. And it got, I got out of there and I found myself with a bright light again. And now I'm in the hospital. My family's there. I had no idea where I'd been, how I got to this place. And they're all happy. And I was just A, still terrified by what I'd been through, and B, I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be back in heaven with my friend. So that's the long and short of it.
Why do you think you had that experience?
It's been 25 years, and I've talked to a lot of people in IANDS. That's the group I belong to, the International Association of Near-Death Studies. They started off in Seattle over 40 years ago, and I only live like, an hour from Seattle, so that always seems kind of strange to me. But yeah, I've talked to a lot of different people. I've done a lot of reading. I think I planned it. From what I can determine, we all start off in heaven as part of God. Our souls are part of God. I believe God is love and God fills the universe, and um, everything is God. And I've been told there's like this, there's this disconnect when you're in heaven. Everything's great, and sometimes souls, for only a reason I'll know when I get back up there, want a little contrast. They want to come down here to earth, which I hear is the toughest gig, a very dark, kind of difficult place, and yes, it is. And we want to experience things, and we've got a group of soulmates that we travel with, and we uh sometimes we go down and spend a lot of time together. Sometimes one of them is my mom, my dad, my sister, whatever, boyfriend, child, and then we kind of switch it up when we come again or go other places. We change roles, and we come down here to experience. And God experiences with us. So God is experiencing too. It's all about change and knowing and under eternity is we can't even wrap our minds around eternity. I mean, it's endless. And so, not saying we get bored, but I understand there's lots to do. But Earth is just one of those places that souls like to come, and I chose it. And for whatever reason, I chose to be an ambassador, sort of thing, to experience what religion calls hell. And I was Catholic for, 70 years. And we were always taught from day one that there was a purgatory, and that even though Jesus died for our sins and we would eventually go to heaven, we would go to purgatory first. Everybody but maybe Mother Teresa did this and just get over it. I mean, they gave us things in the Middle Ages. They came up with selling indulgences. So if you said, in those days you had to pay for it. Now it's, you just do it. You go to an extra mass, you say an extra rosary, you go take a novena, and they'll tell you how many days you get off purgatory. Usually it's a big number, around 300. So it's like a year. But then that also puts in your mind, how long am I going to be there? That I've got to stack up all this storehouse of extra prayers and rosaries and masses to get me out of this place that I will go to. So I believe that I went there because I expected it, and I planned it, and it was, over the 25 years I've been back, I've been able to take each of those segments and track them down to actual horrible things that happened in my life, which I made worse. So I could say, okay, this is my hell. But so I believe people that stay, had I stayed, I don't think I'd had that experience at all. But it was something that I had to come back and say, people, uh, if your religion is teaching you things that say, if you do this, you're going to hell. If you do that, you're going to hell. Run, because it's not true. God is all loving, all forgiving, and never condemns anybody. I don't care what is written where. And it's not just me. I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have had these experiences all over the planet, all different cultures, religions. They all come back with, it's great. God's love. There's nothing to be afraid of.
So what happens to us after death? Like it seems like we leave the body, but where do we go?
We just go home, and home is where God is. And that's our spirit. Our spirit goes home. I wasn't there long enough, but most people say they get a life review, which they said is kind of entertaining. You get to see your whole life like in a movie setting, and from conception to death. And I think that would be kind of cool. There's no judgment. They do, I'm told, flip the thing over and you get to re-experience your whole life as if you were the person interacting with yourself. So if you had a best friend that I don't know, you told one of her secrets and oh, she was so upset and so hurt, you would feel how that felt. And it's not a judgment, it's just karma, it's just understanding what our actions put out and how people are receiving them. Again, if you've done a couple of really good things, maybe you didn't tell somebody, but they were in, I don't know, hard times. You slipped them $100 bill in an envelope. They didn't know where it came from, but you can feel their joy, their gratitude. So, as far as I know, there is no judgment, only an opportunity to see how your life on this earth counted.
You saw your friend there. Did you see any other beings?
I did. In the hellish regions, I saw a couple people that I knew that were alive. And there's a lady that's doing a book on that now. That's pretty rare. When I got back, I realized that I had seen them in a situation that was harmful for them long term. And so I had to tell them both, which was interesting. um, that I had seen them in this situation, which is not a real good icebreaker, and then explain that what they were doing there really wasn't in their soul's best interest. And I suggested that maybe they would work on that. The first person I told did not take it well. And we haven't spoken in over 20 years. I hope she got the message, but dude, it was just my duty to just tell her what she does with it is something else. The other person listened and took it to heart as a very bad situation she was in continued. My words kept coming back to her, and so she took the chance to change the way she reacted with this person or interreacted, and broke the relationship, and came to me about a year later with a glass of wine at Christmas at a party for the family. She said, wait, I want to talk to you about that thing you said to me about a year ago, because it happened and I am so happy I'm out of that relationship and my life is so different. So thanks. So I figure, well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Are beings on the other side dark or are they all pure light beings? I know you mentioned demons.
I hasten to question the word reality, because here, what we think is real really isn't. But in the other world, in heaven, that is reality. Um, Darkness. I don't believe that God made evil. I mean, that's just not possible. God is all energy, positive energy. So realistically, on this planet, we would say, well, if there's positive, there's got to be negative. If there's dark, there's light. My the people that I've talked to that have had the distressing ones, everybody kind of agrees there's probably a space somewhere on the other side for dark energy, for people that maybe prefer to be evil, which is weird. But we have free will. So if you want to be somebody that's mean and ugly, it's your choice, but you're certainly not going to be comfortable in a place of light and love. So you would probably drift over and, find any darkness that's there, but God didn't make it.
For those people who are evil and that choose to, stay evil once they leave the body, do they, I'm assuming they go into a different space than where God is?
You get a life review too. Okay, everybody gets a life review. So let's say you're Hitler and you were, just about as bad as you get. On your life review, you get to not only see everything that you did that was harmful, you get to feel it. So, as far as judgment goes, if Hitler gets to feel the horror and the pain and the agony of all those people and all their families, he's probably still doing his life review. But how can you punish anybody more than that, than to let them feel the pain that they've inflicted on others? But that's not God doing it. That's just them getting their karma and to feel what they put out.
Do we all come with a purpose and a plan for our life?
I think so. Um, that's why we're here. I'm told we pre-plan our lives and that they even have to be approved, and you've got all the soulmates involved. So it's a little bit of a complicated procedure. But there's things that you want to learn, things you want to do better than you did last time if you're coming back to Earth again, because you can go other places. Um, yeah, I think you plan it and your purpose. That's the big thing. It's like they do this mind wipe or something when you come down here, and you kind of forget. And so throughout your life, you may be drawn to certain things, or you interact with certain people where you get the skills or the know, the wherewithal to um, uh, perform that purpose when it finally appears. And some people may from day one say, I want to become, I don't know, a Buddhist priest or a doctor or something. That they get the calling or it's clear earlier. And some of us, we don't, because the situation hasn't presented itself yet. You have to, be older. For me, it happened when I got back. It took me 10 years of wondering what the hell that was all about. Uh, other than maybe I was being punished, but gee, I wasn't that bad a person. And when I finally went to IANDS, and they were talking all about, the wonderful NDEs, and nobody said anything about the dark ones, the distressing ones. And I thought, wait a minute, there's got to be more than me out there. And then to do research and read books and find out that up to 20% of the people that have an NDE and come back have something distressing or hellish. And I thought, okay, we got to get together and figure this out. So over the last, well, gosh, how long has it been? 15 years, I guess. That's been my purpose in IANDS, is to get a distressing NDE group. And I've done it. And finally, and at our next conference, we're going to have our own section and have our own panel and have our own room. And it's a big deal because they're coming out of the woodwork now. I've also got a group that's through IANDS, a sharing group once a month. And I'm always advertising it and inviting people to be there. And it's so cool because you just almost every meeting, there's one person that says, I've never told my story to anybody, but I'm going to tell it to you guys because I feel safe here. I feel like you understand. I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be criticized. I'm not going to be told, oh, it was just the drugs. They feel comfortable. And once they get that out and can look at it, it just such a relief to realize that they didn't have that experience because they were bad people. I mean, there's been enough a lot of research done on this, that there is no proof that a bad person has a distressing NDE any more than a good person has a good one. There's no correlation. It just happens for the reason you needed it to happen. You agreed to it, and it's for a purpose. It's to come back, and you will change from it, and then you can help other people. So that's been a big deal, I think, for me and for those of us, and there's thousands that have had a distressing one.
Well, congratulations. I guess you found your purpose. Like you were meant to do this and
Well,
get
that's
this.
one. You can have more than one purpose. Generally, I think they're interrelated. Um, Coming back, I had a hard time, you can understand, for a long time, because I thought, well, heck, I did everything I was supposed to as a Catholic, and that wasn't enough. What else is there? And I prayed a lot. I said, give me some positive things I can do. I'm done with the thou shalt nots, they don't work. So over a period of weeks, I got be loving and kind, merciful and forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. So for the past years, that's what I've kind of been working on. I'm down to useful. I've incorporated the rest, and the useful one for me was like, well, it turned out to be being on podcasts for one thing, because they weren't even around except for a few years ago because of COVID. And because when I was, it kept ringing in my ears, you've got too much left to do. You can't go home till you've got too much left to do. And you think, geez, I live in this little town. Um, how am I going to do whatever it is I don't even know I'm supposed to do? It was very frustrating. So when my first caller was from Kirsten Salisbury in New Zealand, who had started a podcast. She got in touch with me and said, I want you on my podcast. I want you to tell your story. I had an NDE, and I didn't know what a podcast was. I said, I don't have money to fly to New Zealand. She says, no, no. Went into the whole Zoom thing. And all of a sudden, that got out there, that one little podcast. And then, people started contacting me. And now I just did number 150 yesterday. So in 4 years, two of those were really big podcasts, and each had over 1 million views. So, God works through us. And if we've promised to do something, it's because we'll be able to do it. We've always got free will. We can say, nah, don't think so. You can come back and do it again. So the second time, but most people say, no, I'd really rather not. I think I'll just try and get it all done. I advise that.
So do we, like when you say free will, do we ever like get off the path? Do we ever, are we able to just say, I cut this contract with this soul, soulmate or whatnot? Can we do that? Is that what free will is, or no? We kind of.
That's what free will is. And you can make those decisions. It's your life. You planned it, but you don't remember that. Um, we've all got like this, well, they call it part of your higher self. I'm told that part of your higher self stays in heaven. It gets a little confusing for me. Or your guardian angel or your conscience or whatever. So you've always got this voice, I call it now, that says, you're getting ready to do something, and then you get that thing that says, I don't know, Kath, this doesn't seem like a good idea to me. And so you got a chance to say, well, yeah, but I'm gonna do it anyway, what the heck. Or you say, well, you're right, I think this is just going to cause a lot of trouble. So you don't. So you've got the thing going back and forth. Also, when you get back from being in heaven or with God or whatever you want to call it, the voice gets a lot louder. And so you don't, and you pay more attention, because you know what it is. And you do take that second thought, you do a little prayer thing around it. And then generally you'll ask for advice, ask for guidance, and you get a little inspiration. Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I could do that instead. So you've got a little extra help. Sometimes it gets a little annoying, but it's insistent, and most all of us hear it, and it has become not quite a joke. But yeah, you get used to it.
So if someone who didn't have an NDE, how can they practice listening to their voice to make it louder?
I think meditation is one thing when you can get your mind quiet enough where you're open. Um, yeah, with all the noise and the information coming in and out, it's hard to hear that voice. So I think meditation would be something I would say. It doesn't have to be formal, sitting on a mat. I mean, just getting quiet 10 minutes out of the day, um, and letting maybe some spirit wander in there.
So is there a difference between spirituality and religion?
Yes. Most of us that come back, and I don't hear hardly anybody that doesn't, they pretty much switch out religion for spirituality, which means that we know that everything is God, God is love, and we're here to be loving beings the best we can. So we don't need any man-made rules, because I did quite a bit of study on religion, and oh Lordy, I mean, if somebody is helped by their religion, great. If they are unhappy, if they're miserable, if they hate God, if they hate each other, get out of there. That's not good for you. Um, it's to be loving, and like I say, almost everybody that's been there that I know of, just God is love. I am love. I'm to be loving and kind. Those are all the directions you need. You don't need rules
What is the most important life lesson you've learned in this life?
in this life. I saw a quote the other day, and it says, "Usefulness is the greatest joy of life." And I agree with that. Once you become aware of being loving and kind to everybody, stop judging them, stop all the negative things in your life, people are drawn to you, and they become more loving and kind. I've joined a senior center group, a year ago, almost a year ago now, and I really try to practice there to be loving and kind. There's all kinds of folks wandering in there, and we're a family now. And the lady that runs it sent me a really nice email the other day saying, the time you've been here, the attitude has changed. Everybody's a little more upbeat. They're friendlier. Thank you for coming. And so it's those little things that encourage you to be useful. And you can do that in a thousand different ways every day. Just little things make a huge difference.
Any advice to someone that is going through pain and suffering?
Yeah, it sucks, but when it happens to me now, I just say, okay, I plan this. There's a reason for it. I'm going to learn something. People around me are going to learn something. It's how I deal with it. So if I am loving and kind to myself in this situation, and be patient, and trust that it'll all work out, that's helpful. I mean, it's still going to be painful, but being human is painful because there's that contrast. We can be really happy and we can be really sad, and that's the way it is on earth.
What is your definition of God?
God is love, unconditional love. There's Once you've experienced it, you don't, human words can't express the glory of it. Mm.
Just one question. So when a lot of people that have NDEs, they come back with gifts. Now, did you come back with a gift or?
Sometimes the gift don't feel like a gift. Yeah, I guess I'm more sensitive. Most people are. So if I'm around somebody that says, I say, how are you? And they say, I'm fine. And I say, no, something in my, I'll get a word, daughter. And I say, how's your daughter? Oh, not so good. So there's a sensitivity uh to people's feelings. You want to be helpful. Um, the voice, it's another thing that's there, which you get used to. Um, it's all good. I think just that inner knowing that it's all good, it's all going to work out for the best. Um, just to be loving and kind, just to keep switching back. Okay, traffic's terrible. This guy cut me off. Take a breath. Loving and kind. Let the next guy in front of you take, just it makes a difference. You settle down. You're not as angry. You got more energy. People want to be around you. Uh, it's all a blessing. It's just how you look at it.
And just curious about your life before your NDE.
Anybody that reads my book will find out they wouldn't want to trade with me. It was chaotic, my dad was in the Navy. We moved all the time. I was always having to find new schools, new friends, new situations. I was married at too early an age for a wrong reason. I've been divorced 3 times. I mean, nobody wants my life, my first baby died when she was only a couple days old. It was traumatic. I was so angry with God for the longest time, but that gave me empathy. I think that's another thing that we get that's a gift is when you have something really terrible happen to you and you survive it, you have this empathy then that you can share as a gift to other people. So for me, I had 2 other of my friends in the next couple of years that lost babies, and they were inconsolable. People would say, oh, don't worry, you'll have another child. That's the worst thing you can say. But they could come to me and say, Kathy, you know how I feel. Will I feel better? Will I ever get over this? No, but you'll learn to deal with it. So there's that empathy that is really priceless. So if you're in a really, really bad space, just know that someday that's going to be a gift for other people.
And do you have any final message before we end this session?
Yes, everybody, just take a breath and be loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. And that's all you got to do.
Thank you so much. And just one last thing, if somebody wants to connect with you and get your book, where can they find you?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, most places sell the book. It's Misfit in Hell to Have an Expat. www.misfitinhell.com is my website, and there's a place there where you can contact me, and there's an awful lot of extra information and some of the shortcuts to my podcast. You can just Google me and MK Mcdaniel, and there'll be a bunch of those that'll show up. And now yours will show up. And so thanks again for having me. I can't wait to get the link.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. It was a
Oh,
pleasure
you're
chatting with
welcome.
you.